Welcome back to our British YouTube channel. Today's class we'll be learning how to make this beautiful V-neck pinafore skirt with front slit and bow. It's a very simple tutorial and it's beginner friendly. If this is something you would like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so for this pinafore, I have my front and back folded together. So I have 4 folds here. This is the fold point. So the first thing you need is your shoulder measurement. The shoulder I'm working with is 14 divided by 2. That's 7 inches. So because this is not going to be standing on the shoulder exactly, I'm going to deduct 1 inch or 1.5. But I'm just deducting 1 inch so that by the time I turn it, I'll turn it with another half inch. So I'll have 1.5 inches. So that will leave me with 6 inches. That's 7 minus 1. So I have 6 inches here on my shoulder, and then on my waistline, the waist I'm working with is 30 inches. So 30 divided by 4. Remember, this is 4 fold for both front and back. That's 7.5. So because this waistline is not going to full the entire waist, so what you're going to do is to divide this 7.5 again by 2. So dividing the 7.5 by 2, I have around 3.75. So, or you can just leave it as 4 inches, but I'm just going to use half of what I divided. That's 2.75. So on my waistline, I'm going to place that 3.75 again like this. So that's all the measurements you need. So after this, you just need to connect from here to your shoulder. So I'm connecting from here to my shoulder for your pinafore. Okay, so now you're going to work on your neckline. The neck width that I'm working with for this is 2 3/4 or 3 inches. So I don't want it too wide. 2 3/4. So the front is a V neckline. So for the front, I'm just going to have enough so that the head can go through. Remember, there's no zipper allowance in this. So the depth that I'm working with for the back is just going to be around 1.5 or 2 inches, and for the front I'm working with a neck depth of 6 inches. So for the front, like I said, it's a V neckline, so I'm just going to draw out the V, while for the back it's just going to be a round neckline. So I think I'm just going to work with 1.5. Okay, so this is my back neckline, this is my front neckline. The next thing is to create my shoulder slope there and connect it to my neck point. So this is all you need to do for your upper part. And now I'm going to cut out this shape that I have. Okay, so this is the side, this is the shoulder slope, and here I'm cutting my back neckline first. Then after cutting the back neckline, I'm going to remove it and cut out my front neckline. So after cutting this, now I'll go ahead and cut this on my lining. Okay, you can line with the same fabric. I'm using a black fabric for my lining. This is the V shape for the front, and this is the round neckline shape for the back. So now I'll cut out the lining for this. Okay, so moving on, after cutting the front, the next thing is to cut out your band. I've cut out mine. Remember, our waistline is 30 inches, so I cut out a band of 32 inches because of zipper allowance at the back, and I cut 2 of it. So the length is 2.5 inches, so that by the time I sew it on front and at the back, I'm going to be left with around 2 or 1.5 inches, which is fine for me. So I have 2 of this as my band, and then I went ahead to cut out my straight pencil skirt. So this is the waistline, this line here is the hip line, and this is the length of the skirt. So my half length stops around 18 inches. So from there, now it's like a 3/4 skirt, so the skirt length is around 48 inches. So the rest here is going to be my allowance. So this skirt is going to have like a slit in front for the front part. Okay, so I'm just going to remove the back now and work on the front. So you decide the side that you're going to be placing your slit, and the slit is going to be along the dot line. So here I'm placing the slit on the left side. Okay, on the left side, which is this side. So I'm just going to open this up and notch my center front. So there are several ways you can actually make this slit. you can make it permanent, but in my case I just want to create it like a zipper allowance, so that I can fix a zipper if I want, so that I can close it down or open it up, or you can just leave it like that. So in case you you decide against the slit, you'll be able to close it. So that is the style that I'm going to go for. So from my center front now, I'm going to measure where my dart is. The dart I'm working with is 4 inches. So from my center front, I'm going to measure 4 inches. I have the 4 inches here. Like I was saying, to create the slit, you choose the side you want this slit to be, which in this case is my left side. Then I've notched the center front. You can see my notch. So from the center front, I took my dart measurement, which was 4 inches. That's bust span divided by 2, 4. So from the center line, I measured 4 inches, and then I made it into a straight line. So like I was saying, you can create your slit in 2 ways. So you fold it on that 4 inches. That's where you have your dart line, like this. Then after folding it on that line, you measure where you want your slit to start from. So from my half length, I'm placing my tape here, and then I want the slit to start around 34 inches here. So if you want it to start around 34 inches, you mark it. So on this lower part, you can measure like 1 inch now, and then from there you connect it to that 34 inches. So you can cut it like that, but in my own case, I want it to have like a zipper allowance, so that I can decide to put a zipper. If you cut it like this, you cannot fix a zipper. So for me, I'm just going to slash it into 2 and then sew it back, then leave it, then stop the sewing around here. So I'm just going to press down the side seam, so that if I decide to add a zipper to it later, so that I can close it up, I'll still be able to do that. But if you want it to be more permanent and more opened, all you just need to do is determine the depth of the slit. So like for me, I want it around 34 inches, and then you go straight to your hem line. You determine how open you want it to be. So if you make it 1 inch, remember it's on fold, that's going to be 2 inches. So if you make it 1.5, that's going to be 3 inches. Then after noting it there, you connect from your slit depth to that opening that you created, and you cut it out. So that's going to form your slits for you. But for me, I'm just going to slat stitch open, following this straight line that I have, so that by the time I sew it, I'm just going to stop the sewing around the 34 inches, and then this part is going to be opened. Okay, so I'm gonna to slash it, and you can see that I did not slash on this line. I added ½ inch allowance because I added that when I was drafting my body, so that by the time I'm going to use the ½ inch to sew them all together. So now you've slashed open your dart line. When you're sewing it, you just sew like this, and then stops around the 34 inches mark. And if you want to fix the zipper, once you stop sewing, you fix the zipper here, so that you can open it or decide to close it if that is what you want. Okay, so this is my back skirt, and this is the front. So if you're going to be fixing lining to this, you cut your lining the same way and use them to turn out each other. But I'm not going to fix lining to this, so you have to turn them with lining before you finish it up. So now we'll start sewing it. The first thing I'm going to do now is to lay my lining against the main fabric for the upper part, and then I'm going to go ahead and sew it on the neckline and also on the side. I'm just going to leave the arm, the shoulder area. I'll do the same thing for this as well. I'm going to sew it on the neckline and on the 2 sides, and then I'll bring it back to show us what we have. Okay, so I've gone ahead to sew it. As you can see, I sew it on the sides and also on the neckline, and I've gone ahead to notch it on the neckline. This is the back and this is the front. So the only place opened is the waistline and also the shoulder area. So the next thing now is to turn it. After notching it, I'm going to turn it out and give it a good press. So I've turned it out and I've gone ahead to iron it. As you can see, it is lying very neat and flat. So the next thing now is to sew it together on the shoulder. So to put it together on the shoulder, just watch it carefully. These are the 2 shoulders. So what you just need to do is to tuck one of them in like this. So you're tucking to the other one, and then you're going to dip your hand from your waistline and bring it out from the inner part like this. And then once you bring it out, you arrange it well in such a way that the fabric is going to be facing the fabric, and then the lining is going to be facing the lining. So I arrange it well now, and then I'm going to go ahead and sew it. Okay, so by the time you sew it and you turn it out, you'll notice that it's going to be knit both in and out. So let me just explain this again. You place your fabric, you can also place it against each other like this, right side facing right side, and then you just open it up. You can see I'm holding the main fabric against the front bodies, the main fabric of the back against the front bodies like this, and then from the waistline I'm going to dip my hand inwards like this and then bring everything in. So once you bring it in, you arrange it right side facing right side, the lining facing lining, and then you sew it. I've gone ahead to turn it to sew it, you can see. So by the time you flip it over, it's going to be neatly finished both in and out. So this is what we'll have. You can see what the shoulder is looking like now. The shoulder is clean and the sides are also clean, as well as the neckline. So this is what we'll have so far. The next thing is to bring in our band. So for the band, remember we have two. One is going to be serving as the lining and the other is going to serve as the main fabric. So I'm just going to notch the midpoint of this band by folding it into two and notching the middle. Okay, so the zipper is going to be on the side. Remember, we did not include any zipper allowance at the back. So I have folded my band. You can see the way I folded my band like this. The first thing I'm going to remove on this side where I'm going to have my zipper is the zipper allowance of 1 inch. So once you remove the zipper allowance of 1 inch, I'm going to be back to my 15 inches. Remember, the waistline is 30 inches, so I have my 15 inches waistline. So now I'm going to fold it and notch the midpoint of the 15 inches. Okay, so after notching the midpoint of the 15 inches, now I'm going to bring in the front and suspend my main bodies between the lining and the main fabric. Okay, so I'm turning it to the right now. Okay, and this is how it's going to be. So the first thing is just to notch this side also to guide us. I just want to arrange it so that I won't get confused. So now you're going to match the midpoint of the front. So just pick it. Remember, this is the front and the other one here is for the back. So for the front, you match the midpoint of this and the midpoint of the band, and then you place the band, the main bodies in between the band like this. So I'm just going to hold it with a pin, and then this other one I'm going to fix it to the back. Okay, so I've pinned it. So this is the front and this is the back. So I'll just go ahead now and sew my band straight like this, fold it, and then I'm going to give it a good press and bring it back to show. So this is what it looks like. You can see this is the front here, this is the space for the side, and this is the back. Okay, so the band is sewn now. You can see this is what it looks like. This is the front and this is the back, and you can see that it is looking really neat. So the next thing is to work on the skirt part. So for my skirt, I've gone ahead to take all of my darts. You can see my dart lines. I've sewn in all of the darts, both front and back, and then I went ahead to close my zipper allowance for the back. I needed this zipper allowance because I want to have a slit here. Remember, it's a pencil skirt, so that the first person can walk freely. I'm going to open this up so that I can have a slit up to around here. So this is it for my skirt, and then I went ahead to join it on the side with my seam allowance. So this is the slit that we're going to be having on the front, and like I said, you can see that I folded in my seam allowance. So if you decide to add the zipper to this, you just fix your zipper so that I can decide to open it or close it up. So this is what we have now. The next thing is to bring in the upper part like this, and then we're going to sew the upper part to the lower part. So from the side here, so this is the line, this is the main fabric. So you sew it in a way that this is going to be in between, your fabric is going to be in between. So I'm going to first sew it, and then after sewing the lining to it, I'm going to fold in the main fabric so that I'll have something very neat as well. So like I said, if you want to line this, you cut your skirt the same way you cut your line the same way you cut your main skirt, and use it to turn on each other before you fix it to the upper part. So this is the zipper allowance here, and I'm going to bring it out like this so that it can enter into my band, where I remember we measured 1 inch for the zipper allowance on the band as well, so that I can easily fix the zipper together. So I'll go ahead to the sewing machine now and sew all of this together, then bring it back to show us what we have. So the band is sewn now. You can see that it is neat. So the skirt is ready. This is what we have, and this is where you're going to fix your zipper like this on the side. So the last thing to do now is to create the bow. So for the bow, I'm using a length of 10 inches by around 8.5 inches, and then I sew it all around, and I'm going to turn it out from this small space. So after turning it out, you can give it a good press so that it can relax well. Then you're going to use that to create your bow. Okay, so now this is what we'll have. The next thing now is to start pleating it. So to pleat it, you get the midpoint. After getting your midpoint, on that midpoint, you make sure you maintain it like that, and then you start to pleat it. So you can see the way I'm pleating it. Your bow can be as long as big as you want, depending on the measurements that you're working with. So after pleating it now, this is what you have. I'm just going to take a strap of fabric that I've turned out like this, and then I'm going to use it to cover it, to hold it together in the middle. You can either tie it or you go ahead and sew it there. So I'm just going to tie this so that we can move on. So after tying it very closely, I'm going to cut off the excess, arrange it well, and then I'm just going to place it where my slit stops, which is here. Okay, so I'm just going to tag this to this now, and our dress is ready. So you can see this is the opening for the slit, this is the band, and this is the front part of the dress. So now I'll take this to the mannequin so that we can see what it looks like. Okay, so this is what the pinafore looks like on the mannequin. This is the upper part. So here you're just going to fix your buttons, your zipper. Sorry, you can see that I held that with my pin, and this is the band, and this is the full view. So this is where my slit started from, and then I have my bow right there. So like I said, your bow can be as big as you want, and then you hem it on the lower part. So this is what the full view of the pinafore looks like. You can wear a shirt or just a simple blouse with it. Very simple, and it's really beautiful, as we have seen. I hope you enjoyed making this beautiful tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.